Hi, I'm Keith Allen, and I play Murphy on Z Nation, and I listen to One Up Gaming Podcast.
Hi, I'm Lucy James, and I listen to the One Up Gaming Podcast.
It's the One Up Gaming Podcast, hosted by David, Sean, and Zach.
And we're here, it's One Up Gaming, episode 181.
Yep.
I was just waiting for you to say something then.
Yeah, no, it is. It is episode 181, yeah.
And it's me, David, with Chris.
Hello, hello.
It seems to be a bit of a rotating thing where one week it's me and Zach, then the next week it's me and you.
I know, I've still never been on with Zach.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird, I must admit. So, anyway, Chris, how are you?
I am fine. Other than my poor internet connection, I am good.
So, are you what you would call in a rural area?
No.
No.
We just, remember when we talked about modems last time I spoke to you?
Yes.
Just cheap modems? Yeah, our cheap modem is still being cheap.
Right.
So, I think, I don't know if we're switching internet providers or something like that, we might be.
Yeah.
Get a new cheap modem from someone else, I guess.
So, I mean, first of all, is a public service announcement I would like to say. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast or not, but I bought like a powered case for my iPhone on Indiegogo.
Right.
And it's called the Air Case by InnoAnts.
When you say powered case, what do you mean?
It's basically, it's like a case that, if you read the front of the actual box, it says it adds 3.8 millimeters to the actual iPhone thickness, but it adds an extra 65% battery life to your phone.
Okay.
It adds 2,800 milliamps.
Oh yeah, no, that's a lot of milliamps.
Basically, it's a protective case that you slide your phone in, and you can turn the battery on or off to charge your phone up.
Okay.
And it was on Indiegogo, and they made at least $200,000, maybe more. And there was a lot of problems. It was supposed to have been delivered in July, I believe it was. And from the early prototypes that I saw, like the battery thing itself that your phone sits into is the same, and then the bit that clips over the front of your phone to hold it in was like a thin bit of metal, which, you know, after a while it might have got a bit of dinted and scratched and whatnot, but at least it had done the job. What they've changed that to is a bit of plastic that clips around the case. And my phone was on the side of the sofa, so about a foot from the floor, and it slid off the side and landed on carpet. And when I picked it up, a whole side of the air case had snapped. And now, after about a week, the whole bottom section of the phone, of the case, is actually completely gone from the actual case.
Wow, okay, that's not very good.
And bearing in mind, I paid, I think it was like $40, which about 30 quid, 32, 35 pounds, something like that.
That's fairly expensive.
You know, so I just wanted to sort of say, do not buy this case. I mean, it works, apart from the fact that the design of it was supposed to be... Do you know how, like, cars nowadays, if you get into a tiny crash, because it's all plastics and they basically shatter, but that absorbs the impact?
Yeah.
I think that's what this case did. It absorbed the impact, but the case just shattered.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're going to be selling individual clips to go back on, or whether it's just completely useless now.
Yeah, that's no good.
But you go onto the actual website and they're still not talking about the air case, because I guess they're still trying to fulfill all the Indiegogo sort of campaigners first before they put it officially out. Because the box that it came with, it says in the box you get a battery case, micro USB cable, and a pass-through headphone adapter. I got the battery case, nothing else.
Okay.
So there was like nothing else in the box apart from the actual case itself. So anyway, I just wanted to say don't buy the case, because it's, at the moment, it just feels very cheap and nasty.
Yeah.
I mean, they might make improvements to it, but
No, it's disappointing.
yeah, I was very disappointed, to be honest. So, moving on to the next bit of news. I don't really want to call them a sponsor, but they've given us a 6-month trial of their premium service, Zencastr.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have been using Zencastr, I think, since episode 146. So that's quite a while ago now. It's like 20 weeks,
Yeah, yeah.
give or take. So that's
Wait, hold on,
nearly,
146. We're on like 80 something now, right?
yeah.
It's like 40 weeks.
Is it 40?
40 plus 40 is 80.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, Jesus Christ. So
Math.
that's nearly. We've basically been using it for 9 months, give or take.
Yeah.
So that's quite good. So yeah, so basically, if anyone doesn't know what Zencastr is, it's a... Do you know when people record podcasts, normally to get the audio working great, two people use... I've completely blanked on the name, Audacity, and that basically records their local file. And then you talk over Skype, you record your own local file through Audacity, and then everyone has to send their individual file to the person who has to compile them together, make sure they're all cut and synced together. So normally you actually have to go like 1, 2, 3 at the beginning before you start, so you can actually have a point of edit. But with this, I go into the room, set it up, invite people in. We don't need to use Skype, we just talk through the service. It automatically records everyone's microphone locally for the best audio quality. And then once we've finished, it uploads it to a central hub that I have access to, so I can get all the files, and it all starts perfectly at the same time. So I just get all the files and then interlay them all together. I don't have to worry about chopping them, cutting them, moving them. It's all perfect, ready to go.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is very, very good to sort of use there. So if anyone's interested in that, please go to zencastr.com, and it is spelled...
So ZENCASTR.com.
.com. Yeah.
There we go. We got there in the end.
I'm going to have to get Justin to make a little radio spot thing for it, just so I can just press the play button on it. But yeah, so if you're interested, sign up to Zencastr and use 1UP20, all one word, and it gives you 20% off on the service. So please use that code and enjoy the service, as, believe you and me, when you actually have to do all the editing, all the cuts, all the that you normally do with the audio side of the podcast, it's very tedious to sort of do everything, whereas this, it cuts a lot of it out, so you just put it together and dump it in, and it's perfect.
Easy.
So that's that. the next thing I would like to say is we have officially launched our One Up Gaming podcast collection, our episodes 1 to 100, and also 1 to 27 episodes of OUG Talks, and the exclusive where we actually interview Sans Pants Radio, who do Plumbing the Death Star, D&D for Nerds. You know, like, they do loads of stuff. But yeah, we've got a 25-minute interview with them, so that's pretty cool. So that is that audio books on tape, or I should really load all these things up before I start.
I mean, that would be helpful.
Yes, it would. Audiobooks on tape.
There we go.
So, you go to... I won't give you the link. Just go to audiobooksontape.com, all one word. And if you go on their website as of now, we are on the recommended page, which is on the homepage. We are £9, and £1 of that goes to the Diabetes UK charity. So that's pretty cool.
That is pretty sick.
And I think that's all we have got to plug this week. But that seems a lot of stuff to plug.
Yeah, I mean, it was more than usual.
I mean, I could also say that we've got our audio CD out on iTunes and Google Play, and
you could say it, and you just did.
Yeah, if you want to know more, just go to our Twitter page, which is at OUG Official, and it's pinned at the top of our sort of Twitters. So, Chris.
Yes.
What have you been playing this week?
I played 2 games in a similar genre. One that I loved, one that I hated.
Ooh.
I have been frequenting the stealth genre of late. And I played Dishonored 2 and I played Hitman.
Ooh.
Which
exciting.
one do you think I didn't like?
I didn't like Dishonored 1. I've not played the second one, but if it's anything like the first one, I didn't enjoy that.
It's very much like the first one.
Ah, so you didn't enjoy that one then?
I did not enjoy Dishonored 2. I'm playing them both. They're both unique in their own way. They're both about kind of assassinating targets, going through a level, being methodical, kind of thinking about how you're going to tackle the mission, kind of not going in the guns blazing approach for both of them doesn't work for either. So it's about being smart and tactical and how you kind of take people out. But I don't know why, for me, one of them works and one of them doesn't. Like, Dishonored 2 just really falls flat for me in a lot of ways. A lot of people have kind of like given it a lot of acclaim for its world building and its story and how all of that kind of wraps around the gameplay. And I find it all really dull. I don't know what you thought about the first one, but it's a lot more of the same kind of in the story sense. And so you play as either Corvo Attano from the first game or his daughter, each of which has kind of a different set of supernatural powers. So the story doesn't change kind of depending on which one you play, but it kind of gives you a different way to tackle the game depending on which powers you take. So I decided to play as the Empress's daughter, because she's got a new set of powers. And I found the story really dull. I found the world building really dull. Like, there were all these little things in there that could have been a lot more interesting, but they didn't really flesh out. And so that kind of just left the gameplay. And basically, like, I mean, I'm sure if, maybe it comes down to me not being a smart enough guy, but I'm sure there are plenty of ways to tackle each mission, but I constantly found that it felt like there was maybe 1 or 2 ways to get around to kind of getting through the area. Each of those ways found me using the same powers again and again. Like, I never felt like using different powers would lead to like a far better effect, or it'd be far more tactical. I'd have a better chance of getting through the mission. I kind of just use the same couple powers each time. So the ones I'm talking about, you get a few as Emily, the daughter. The first one is a kind of teleporty power, similar to kind of in Dishonored 1. And then the other one, which I use the most, is called Domino, where you can link the fates of different enemies. And so you link the fates of 3 different guards, you slit the throat of one guard, and each one of them has their throat slit. So, I mean, it's a really interesting mechanic, but I just found I'd kind of sneak around, domino a few people, get caught, get killed, restart it again, look for another way to get around the area, not find one, do the exact same process, get killed, do it again, get killed. So, I mean, I found that I was trying to be smart and think about how I could get through each stage in Dishonored 2. And I just constantly was met with a "you've been killed." You're not good enough, you're not smart enough to get through the stealth game, you're not sneaky enough. So I constantly felt like kind of deflated playing Dishonored 2. Like, I felt like I'd never... I was never succeeding. It took a million times in kind of annoying little things to get through an area. Whereas I played Hitman recently. I recently just bought the season pass. It was on a Black Friday sale on PlayStation Network. And I've played the first location, Paris, and the second location, which is Sapienza, I think. Sapienza? Something like that. Now, Hitman kind of does it in the completely different way. Like, you can get caught in Hitman very easily, just like you can in Dishonored 2. But I found that, like, I constantly felt like there were so many options for me to kind of tackle. Like, there was one mission, I was on a yacht, and I went and I'd planned carefully that I was going to poison this guy's drink as a waiter. And I went and I poured poison into his glass of wine, and then another character came up and distracted him. And so I went, okay, I've messed this up, and the character distracted him, the target ended up walking off. And I went, damn, I planned so hard putting that rat poison in that wine. But then I remembered I'd actually placed an explosive in his office earlier as a backup. And I went to follow him to see if he, was going to go back to his office, and he happened to go back to his office. And so I sneak along the side, watching through a window. He walks into his office, and as he looks down on the ground, seeing this giant explosive on the ground, he goes, hang on a minute. Bang, detonate it, he's dead. I sneak out without anyone even noticing me. So for me, I've played these 2 stealth games. One of them, Hitman's World, I feel is more interesting, even though it is very much just like you'll arrive at a party and there's a party going on. But I feel like within that world, there's all these little intricate little conversations going on that can lead to you working out a different way you can take out the target. There's massive crowds of people, like it's some of the most NPCs I've ever seen in a game. It feels like that little environment you're in, it feels like a living, breathing event. Whereas Dishonored 2, they've got all this lore, they've got all this, you can find notes everywhere of characters talking about other characters and plots and little kind of agendas that characters have. But none of it's interesting, none of it really ascends the level of just feeling like plot within a video game rather than a kind of actual immersive experience like I felt in Hitman. And then when it comes to gameplay, they're both, fairly tricky stealth games that focus on not getting caught, on staying away from combat, and taking out your targets stealthily and as quietly as possible. But I found Dishonored 2 was constantly telling me that I'd failed, and that I wasn't good enough at the game, and that I was shit and should work out something different. Whereas when I tackled Hitman, I constantly felt like there were plenty of ways I could intelligently tackle the mission. And if one of them messed up, that wasn't the end of the game. I just had to tackle it in a different way, and there were still options for me. And I could still, after messing up twice, take out my target and get out of there feeling like a master silent assassin. So, I think I know which one I prefer.
Yeah, I mean, I've always enjoyed the Hitman games ever since I played Hitman 2 on the original Xbox.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you had more to add.
No. But I mean, the one thing I will say, I've only played the release, like the training level, as like a demo of the new Hitman, and I played through that, and I really did enjoy it. But that's enough of the game for me. So I don't really need all the different locations and levels. I can just play that one thing and run around and kill things. And
yeah, no, I mean, and I think that's interesting. Like, I think there's like at least I was playing one mission. There was like 10 different ways that it was telling you that you could kind of very uniquely take out targets. And then simultaneously, you could also just walk up and stab them in the neck or something like that if you walked across them. But, I like the amount of options they give you and the amount of different ways you can tackle it smartly. The only other Hitman I've played is Absolution, which I actually really loved. I know a lot of people didn't enjoy Absolution, but I loved it. I loved it. And the only thing I'll say about this Hitman that I like less than Absolution, because I'm enjoying the story more and I'm enjoying the settings and the kind of big open worlds more. The only thing I'm enjoying less is Hitman's Absolution's missions. The sheer amount of ways you could take out a target and the creativity in those ways, I feel was better than this Hitman. This Hitman feels a lot more cut and dry. Here's a way that you can lure the target to this location, but then you're either going to stab them, shoot them, or choke them. Here's a way you can get them to come over here, but you're going to shoot them, stab them, or choke them. Whereas I felt in Absolution there were ways where I would set up a loose water pipe and some electricity running from a generator and electrocute them as they came into the bathroom. Or I could push them into a vat of acid that was nearby. Or, I felt Absolution had more creative ways to kill your targets within the kind of smaller levels. And I think that's something that people disliked, is they didn't like the size of the levels, because they felt a lot smaller and a lot more isolated than they do in the 2016 Hitman. But I felt like the deaths were far more interesting.
I don't know if you agree or not, but for me, I think with the Hitman Absolution, they went more of the so-called, like, the third-person sort of actiony sort of. They tried to add a lot more, the character movement and the everything to it, the more polish, more money thrown at it. Whereas with this 2016 one, it seems a lot more pared back, a lot more simpler.
It does. Like, it does feel like it doesn't feel cheap or tacky in any way. No, I understand what you're saying. It doesn't feel like that. I just want to say it doesn't feel like that in any way. But it does feel a lot more pulled back in the, especially even with the episodic kind of release of it. Like, it feels more in line, like an in-between of a AAA game and a Telltale game, rather than Hitman Absolution, which felt like a true AAA blockbuster experience. This feels more like a, it is a AAA game, but I understand what you mean. It feels more pulled back, less resources put into it. Like, it is a very short game. It's built on replayability, but there are not that many, in like the full packaged game, that many missions. Whereas Hitman Absolution had quite a few.
Yeah. So, anything else you'd like to add on the Dishonored 2?
No, I mean,
or were you just disappointed?
I was just disappointed. I'd heard all these great reviews. I heard people talking really highly of it, and I found that just lacking in story, lacking in kind of atmosphere. It all felt very cut and dry. Like, the story didn't have many, big highs or big lows. It just felt very flat the whole time. The gameplay, like I say, they gave you a lot of options, but I felt like I was using the same approach each time, where compared to Hitman, I'm tackling it a different way each time. In Dishonored 2, I felt like I was just going about things the exact same way, the safe way that I'd learned how to do things, and if I tried to do anything different, I was very rarely kind of rewarded for trying something different. And I mean, I think, I'm surprised by the critical praise it's gotten, because I mean, there's a lot of people have spoken about how amazing the levels are, how unique they are. Like, there's one level, minor spoilers, so skip ahead maybe a few minutes if you don't want to hear them. But there's this one level where you get a device that allows you to switch between time periods. And you can switch between, you're in this mansion, you can switch between the current day where it's very run down, and then switch between that period of time and 3 years earlier when the mansion was alive, and you switch between them, and there's characters that are only in one timeline, so you could kill a character in one timeline, disappear, and the guards will react, and they'll be like, hang on, where did that guy go who just killed our buddy? And people praise this, talking about how it was a revolutionary level. But just a few months ago, before Dishonored came out, another game did this exact same mechanic in an isolated level, just like Dishonored 2, and they did it better. And that game was Titanfall 2. They have an exact same mechanic in one of their levels, where you get a device that allows you to switch between two different time periods and fight the enemies in both time periods and kind of maneuver through the level using that device. And I found Titanfall 2 use that mechanic far better. It was far more interesting. And then the kind of puzzly ways and in the combat ways, I felt like the mechanic worked better. So I don't know why Dishonored 2 is getting all this praise when I feel there are other games that actually came out even just a couple months before it that are using these so-called revolutionary mechanics, but to a far better degree.
Yeah, but I don't know what's happened this year with a lot of the so-called gaming press, because a lot of them they really went over the top for Titanfall 2, and I think it's a good game, but it's not as good as Battlefield 1 or even Call of Duty.
I think it's not as good as Battlefield 1, but I think it's better than Call of Duty.
The single-player campaign is amazing this year.
I don't know, I mean, I really loved Titanfall 2. Like, I thought it was a great game.
I just thought it was good. But anyway, so...
We'll wait to the Game of the Year talk.
I was thinking, it doesn't matter what the hell we think for Game of the Year, because I've just remembered Dark Souls 3 came out this year, didn't it?
Yeah, that does not matter at all.
It does when a certain Matt Dawson will be talking.
No, it's going on about Dark Souls 3.
Yeah.
What is your, just on a tangent, what is your Game of the Year so far? Is it some FIFA or racing game?
If you give me 2 seconds, I will just load up my Google Docs, where I've got a list of all the games that I've played that I've liked.
Because mine currently is Uncharted 4.
I've got the memory of a goldfish that's been dead, swimming upside down for a year. Right. So, there is Forza Horizon 3, that was good. Tell you what, there seems to be a lot of the same games, Now, I have actually I've got Hitman on here as well.
Yeah.
Quantum Break, I really enjoyed that. Just the ending really pissed me off. You're gonna hate this, but I've even got No Man's Sky on here.
You're joking.
Nah, I really enjoyed that.
That was such a bad game. So was Quantum Break. David, what are your takes, mate?
Riptide GP Renegade, really enjoyed that.
So what would you say is your top one, though?
Biggest disappointment, I've got Unravel, Dino Dini's Kickoff Revival.
I'd say my biggest disappointment was No Man's Sky. But that game wasn't even mediocre, that was just bad.
I've got 9 games written in my overall top 10 so far. Do you want to sort of have 5 guesses and see how many you can get?
Dino Dini something.
No, that was in one of my worst games at the top of the year.
Okay, one of them is a soccer game.
Yes.
One of them is a racing game.
Yes.
One of them is by Sega.
I don't think so. No.
One of them is Forza Horizon.
Yes.
One of them is... It's not No Man's Sky.
That is on there.
I just don't even trust you anymore then.
Yeah, but the
That
thing
is
is,
shocking.
I played that months, well, maybe even about a year before it came out, and after all the hype that it got, I was like, oh, this is really bad. And it actually really exceeded what I was thinking the game was going to be. That's the reason why I bought it, just because I thought it was going to be really one of the worst games I've ever played.
For me, it was. It is one of the only games that I've paid full price for, and then just played a tiny bit of it and gone, nah, I'm not willing to touch any more than that. I paid full price and I am not willing to touch it. That's how bad it was.
On here I've got a game which, I think I added it because a lot of people liked it on the site, but, because we're going to use this sort of list for, during the talks.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of games on the overall top 10 list which I'm like, oh god, no.
Like?
Severed.
Okay.
Doom.
I did not like Doom.
I didn't like Doom.
I think it's a fine game, but it didn't do anything for me.
But yeah, it's bits and bobs like that. I think I'm going to have to go through and get some more stuff.
Yeah.
On the worst games on our list, I had to include Rubik's Cube, the official game of the Rubik's Cube.
That sounds awful.
It was on the 3DS and the Wii U. You used the touchscreen to rotate it around, and it just did not work at all.
Yeah. No, I'd say my top 5 at the moment would probably be Uncharted 4, Firewatch, Battlefield 1, Far Cry Primal, and Hitman.
I think Hitman was on that as well, either. No, it's not on the overall top 10, but it was on the probably best action adventure, Hitman there.
Yeah, I think it's been a good year for games for me, because usually I choose my top 5 usually due to story. Story's such a big draw for me when it comes to choosing my favourite games. But nearly all of these games I chose kind of as my top 5 because they just have extraordinary gameplay.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So, that's a bit of the insight into Game of the Year. God, we'll have to start doing that pretty soon, won't we?
Yeah, well, we do that end of December, January, wouldn't we?
No, what we normally do is about the 10th or that kind of region of December, where we've all got a full Saturday or a Sunday, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
We record about 4 or 5 hours in one chunk, and then I break that up. I break that up into 3 or 4 categories to make the podcast, so we don't have to do any more recording until the new year.
Yeah. Okay.
So at least then we get 2-3 weeks off.
That's not going to leave a lot of time in Final Fantasy 15.
Do you reckon that'll be under the worst game, or do you reckon that'll be under biggest disappointment?
Dude, I think that's going to be great.
I don't know.
I've never played a Final Fantasy. I've never played a Final Fantasy, but I am pumped to play this one.
I've never liked Final Fantasy. I didn't even like Final Fantasy 7. I just couldn't do. I couldn't do the tiny little people with the big heads. It just did not look right.
Alright then, David, have you played anything this week?
Yes. After your glowing endorsement a few weeks ago, I thought I would try ReCore.
Oh, yep.
It's a very simple third-person shooter.
It really is.
But if this game came out for 20 quid, I wouldn't be that bothered. I think it's a competent, basic sort of shooter.
No, I think it's fine as like a little indie shooter, but the fact that I paid $60 for it and
in the UK, I think it came out for 30 quid when it actually came out.
Yeah, that seems about right.
You know, so I mean, if I was to get it for 20 quid now, then that's worth 20 quid. You know, because it is like an indie sort of game, just a little bit higher production value.
Yeah.
But yeah, I quite enjoyed. I like the fact that you could actually press the so-called aiming down the scope, and it actually locked on to where you were shooting.
Yeah.
So you didn't really need to use any skill. You just held the button down.
Yeah, it was very easy.
You know, so for me, when I don't get all these hours and hours to sit and master the bloody techniques of all these games, it's just fun just to experience them and just watch the flashy lights and colours.
I wish there was more customization when it came to your robots, though.
Yeah, I mean, like, I when I've played through, I sort of like devised, where you go to your bench thing and like fix up your dog and add new abilities to it or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it was better than I was expecting after all the negative sort of stuff that was said about it. But yeah, that's if it's cheap, like they normally do the end of year sales, don't they? If it's quite cheap, I might pick it the full version up. But yeah, that seems quite a fun little game.
Well, I think it's the perspective of how you kind of talk about it. If you talk about it as some AAA Xbox One exclusive, I found it pretty disappointing. If you talk about it as a simple indie shooter, it'll actually probably be exceeding kind of what you think.
Yeah. But I mean, that's what I like about Microsoft. I mean, how many exclusive games are on Sony's platform that are a bit ropey and a bit rubbish looking? I think Sony get behind the games that look amazing.
Yeah, they used to get behind stuff like Starhawk and kind of more middle tier games like that on the PS3 era, but they haven't really done much of that this generation.
No, they just do their really high production games and let everyone else do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
And then they just sort of pay them loads of money to get the maps first and...
Yeah.
But, hey, if it works, it works. So, in a weird roundabout way, I would recommend ReCore. I think it was a fun little game. I've been plugging away a little bit more on Watch Dogs 2.
Yeah, no, I just picked that up, so I'll be playing that soon.
And I will say, when I was talking about it with Zach last week, I sort of said that it has the same problems that I find with Assassin's Creed. Whereas when your character gets into a confined space, the character movement is a bit janky. Like, you'll stick to some surfaces, and when you try to lean out, you'll just pop out of cover and like spaz out a bit.
Yeah.
But once you get into the full open world, it's really good. It's really well made. It's only when you're doing the sneaking sort of like stealth sections where it's a bit janky. But overall, I've been quite enjoying it. Now, unlike a lot of places that review these games, because it seems like every single reviewer is based in San Francisco.
Yeah, it does,
And they're all going, oh, it's just like going down this place. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. No idea. and they're all having little like private conversations about streets and signs and places where they go, and I don't know.
I know,
just a
yeah.
fun game.
It seems a bit biased. Like when there's been all these other games set in other cities, and then there's one set in the city that they're all from, and they're all like, you know what? This might be the best city made in a game ever.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, it's because you live there. Like, if they made a game about playing a game in New Zealand, I'd be like, holy shit, man, this is weird.
Yeah.
I wonder if there'll ever be a game set in New Zealand. I fucking doubt it.
Maybe the Rugby World Cup game, you might be able to be set in New Zealand.
Oh, fuck's sake, I hate those. Other than Rugby World Cup 2011, which is a phenomenal game.
Jonah Lumu Rugby on the PlayStation 1, that was really good.
I played that, it was alright. It was alright.
For the time,
Nothing
it was
on-
amazing.
Nothing against Rugby World Cup 2011.
There was one, was it last year, that was so bad it was brilliant.
Oh yeah, the 2015 one, yeah, it was fucking awful, I heard.
It was just broken, but it was brill.
I think my
So-
brother actually picked that one up.
You know it's bad when... It's weird though how they don't do more cricket sort of games. It's not cricket.
Well, cricket's not massive here.
Is it? No, it's like Australia, isn't it, that's quite big.
Yeah, Australia is more into cricket than we are. Over here, it's just rugby, maybe netball.
Isn't netball more of a girls' thing?
Yeah, but it's kind of rugby's the guys thing, netball's the girls thing, and I mean basketball's not very big here. Neither's cricket. Boxing, maybe. People like boxing.
Anywho, the last game that I've played, I've put a couple of hours into, is Football Manager 2017, the mobile version on my iPhone.
I don't think we could get through a week without you talking about some kind of football, soccer management game.
I really want Motorsport Manager for the PC, but it's 25 quid and I don't have 25 quid.
Borrow it from the bank.
I can't do that.
Just go to the bank. I need 25 quid. Why? So I can manage some motorsport.
Because I had that game on my phone, it was really good, really enjoyable. And the PC version just looks head and shoulders way better. But anyway, Football Manager, it seems almost the same as... I mean, I don't know if you remember the PlayStation Portable. They used to have some Football Manager games.
I did have a PSP, David.
Yeah, but you didn't have the management game.
No, I did not have football management games.
Yeah. And the Football Manager games
Soccer management.
on that, they were 30 quid each. And this Football Manager mobile game is nigh on identical to how that game ran. And it's only $6.99 on the phone.
Right.
So you're getting it's a very stripped down basic sort of game, but it's still really enjoyable and fun
Yeah.
if you're into that sort of thing.
Okay.
Nothing
Not me,
against it, but you know. So yeah, I'd recommend that one as well. And
if you're
that,
into
my
football
friends,
management.
is all I've been playing this week.
Oh, lovely. Cool.
So has there been any news or anything?
No.
Do you have trouble sleeping? Tossing and turning all night? Nothing you do seems to help. You're not getting your recommended 6 to 8 hours of sleep each night. Well, now there's a solution. Now there's Fat Cat Fly. With Fat Cat Fly, you'll easily get the sleep that you deserve. Download for free on the iOS App Store, and you're guaranteed to get a good night's sleep with very few side effects, as you help a fluffy kitty eat all the junk food that he wants. Side effects may include sleeplessness and desire for cheeseburgers if erection lasts more than 5 hours. See a physician. Try Fat Cat Fly today. Visit facebook.com/fatcatfly because you deserve a better life.
Walking Dead New Frontiers coming out December 20th.
Oh yeah, the
new Walking Dead game.
Have you heard anything about the price of the Nintendo Switch?
Yeah, $330 Australian dollars, £200.
That's not bad.
That came up from a Canadian Toys R Us listing.
Yeah,
and
that could
very
be anything.
quickly went down. Yeah, so Canadian Toys R Us listing said $330 Australian dollars, £200, and then very quickly got taken down.
Yeah, because I've seen a lot of stuff on these review sites saying, "Oh, latest news about the Nintendo Switch," but they never tell it in the headline. You always have to click through and read. It's like, I want to know, but I don't want to be bothered to click through stuff.
I know, one click too much.
I know.
But I mean, I don't think there was that much news this week. Persona 5 got delayed till April is the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, which, when you think, it's only a couple of months, isn't it?
I don't mind, it gets it out of the way so I can play Horizon. But it'll put it pretty close to the time of Mass Effect Andromeda.
I tell you what, you guys over in New Zealand, have you seen, or are you even bothered in the Grand Tour, the motoring car show by Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond and James May, who used to do Top Gear?
Yeah, I've heard a little bit about it. There's some people over here who are fans of the old Top Gear, so some people are interested, but there's not a big buzz for it at all.
I tell you, the first episode was one of the greatest TV shows I've seen in a very long time.
Okay.
Brilliant.
There's some gaming news right there.
Well, it's not really gaming, it's more of a...
It was sarcasm, David.
Alright. Sorry. So, I've just been looking through here and it's just nothing in here whatsoever. It's just got headlines like why Fantastic Beasts needs to be 5 movies. So,
Are you on IGN?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that article. Yeah, there's not much news-wise going on.
Yes, yeah, I've just looked through all that and there's nothing at all. We will end the show. If you want to win a 3DS game, it's an action platformer. I thought I put the link in here, but I obviously haven't. I will put a sound clip in of me telling you what the game is now. We have a competition. If you would like to win Gurumin 3D for the 3DS. Now this is like a full 3D action role-playing game, I think. It's like maybe an old-fashioned sort of Final Fantasy sort of style game, but in full 3D for the 3DS. We have got a code to give away for a European sort of like enabled device. So if you would like to win this, please just follow us on Twitter, which is @OUGofficial, and send us a question that we can read out for next week's show. If we pick your question, we will give you the code. So thank you and good luck. So if you want to win that, just tweet us, and best tweets, I'll reply, and I'll send you the EU code for the 3D action platformer sort of game for the 3DS.
Sweet.
Please buy our games-inspired music album, and remember, 20% of each sale goes to the Child's Play charity. It's only $5.99, so it's not too much for you to buy. And we are on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitch. Easiest way to find us, just go to our website, which is oneupgaming.co.uk, and then there's like tabs at the top of the screen that will take you directly to those pages. If you want to tweet us, it's @OUGofficial. If you want to email us,
@HashBrownAddict for me.
Fine. I can't even remember what my Twitter handle is.
You don't know your personal one?
No, I think it's @BlurDC.
I just made @HashBrownAddict like all my things when I set up all my social media when I was like 15.
Yeah, I think mine's @BlurDC.
Blur DC.
I think. I'm not sure. Was it DC Blur? I don't know. Anyway, you can email us at contact@oneupgaming.co.uk, and you can download us on iTunes. Please subscribe to us and give 5 stars. Any feedback, it'll be great and welcomely received. Welcomely, we will receive it with open arms.
We'll like it.
Yeah, and if you do, then that also helps us with the rankings, so more people will download us and find us and things like that. And I believe that is it. So I will end this show by putting about 5 minutes, maybe, of our exclusive interview with the Sans Pants radio team. So is there anything you'd like to say, Chris, before we go?
Play Hitman, not Dishonored 2.
We have not been sponsored by IO Interactive.
Or have we?
I wish we had.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah, so anyway, use Zencaster, it's great.
We are sponsored by them, so...
Yeah, well, it's not really a sponsor, but...
A sponsor of a sort.
Yeah, they're letting us use the service for free, but remember, if you want to subscribe to the service, use the discount code OneUp20 to get 20% off. So that is it from us. It's been One Up Gaming episode 181. It's been me, David, and Chris.
Hello.
Saying goodbye.
See you later.
As you're watching this documentary, the first thing we'd like to say is thank you. This project has been our passion. This will go through the recent history, documenting the rise of the podcast. We'll start at the very beginning, way back in the 1980s, when podcasting first started. But back then, it was called audio blogging. This is well before the advent of the World Wide Web. In the 1980s, RCS, or Radio Computing Services, provided music and talk-related software in a digital format. And in the early 1990s, we now started to have radio-style talk shows, but on the computer. And in 1993, Carl Malleman launched Internet Talk Radio, which was the first computer talk radio show, each week interviewing a computer expert. It was described as audio files that computer users fetched one by one. We have to say, what a super snappy name that is. Now, downloading music did not reach critical mass until the launch of Napster, and this helped the mass media get used to the idea of downloading what we want, when we want it. In 2001, Albion Technologies of San Francisco introduced Replay Radio, later renamed Replay AV. This was like a TiVo recorder, but for internet radio shows. The best feature was a direct download link, which would scan the radio publisher's sites for new files and copy them directly to the user's hard disk. The first radio show to publish in this format was Web Talk Guy's World Radio Show, produced by Rob and Dana Greenlee.
Hey guys, and welcome to this week's episode of Forming the Death Star, where we ask you important questions like, is John Hammond...
There's another island!
What?
Dinosaur Park! There is another island!
Oh no.
So, I've called you into my bedroom.
So we've survived Jurassic.
You've survived Dinosaur Park 1.
Park.
You know, you've...
lot of dead kids.
a lot of dead kids and mercenaries. A lot of therapy.
Web Talk Guys World Radio, produced by Rob and Dana Greenlee, was one of the first podcasts ever produced. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Not once.
No.
Just then I heard it.
I'm sorry.
Have we ruined your documentary already?
I feel like we ought to have. That's on us.
Our bad.
Okay, let's focus on the podcasters now. When is your first recording session?
2012?
4 years ago?
Yes, and it was
Yeah.
just me and Zoe.
2011, that makes it then.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I was invited to the first one, but I couldn't make it.
So I'd say about 4 years ago.
That's true.
I think 3 or 4.
And why did you start a podcast?
You want to take this one?
Why? Okay. I wanted to start a podcast because I always wanted to be in radio, because I realized one of my only marketable skills is that I'm kind of funny and I can talk.
And he looks bad.
and I look awful. I'm a mess. So first I wanted to be in radio, but then I kind of learned about podcasting, and I was like, well, this is in a lot of ways a far easier kind of industry to get into and to like make a start in, and it's been nice being able to create something as opposed to jumping on like a pre-existing radio station and trying to make a name for myself there.
Yeah,
that's me. Anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna say the learning curve is pretty easy once you get started. And I think I want to do one of these because I'm kind of sick and tired of commercial radio. Hate being censored.
I did it because I got asked to.
And look at you now.
Look at me now. Everyone's
What a king.
favorite.
Oh.
When did you feel you were comfortable on the microphone?
Straight off the bat.
Yeah, pretty much instantly.
All the time, just straight away. Hearing my voice was like hearing angels sing.
I had like a weird moment like listening back to podcasts. At first I was like, I'm in this. This is kind of weird. But actually recording it was fine.
Yeah, that took longer to get used to than actually talking, listening back to yourself. But at this point, I'm like, yeah, that sounds good.
I went
Angel
about
singing.
18 months without listening to a single episode.
Really?
Yep.
That's news. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't listen to Shut Up a Second until almost the end of the second season.
Man.
Sorry.
Rude.
I've heard it now. We're great. We're great.
Hey guys, Justin here. I just wanted to say that I've been thinking about you. I've been thinking about you a lot. Yes, you in particular, in that way. And I wanted to say, I think you're great. I've always said that about you. And I was wondering, if you think we're great, if you could give us a quick rating on iTunes, we'd really appreciate it. It would really, really help us out in that, podcasty sort of way. And if you're feeling particularly festive, perhaps even a little saucy, maybe stop by our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/OUG and see if you can't slip a few bucks our way. After all, every little penny or whatever space money they use in Europe helps out the show. Thanks for listening. OUG Gaming will always be free, but with your support, we can always move forward and always be better.